Raves and Germs, welcome to NJ Today. You're watching this either on my official YouTube channel or on mishmashers.com. My name's McConaughey, and for today's video, I will be talking about and sharing my thoughts on the live-action Fullmetal Alchemist film, which recently hit the Netflix streaming service. I'll start off by sharing how much I dearly covet the anime series. If I were to make a list of my favorite things in general, in terms of entertainment, I feel comfortable that the series would wind up someplace close to the top, and it stands as my favorite anime to date. That said, I went into this film with in-check expectations. Frankly put, I can't recall a time, ever, where we've had a really good live-action adaptation of an anime series, and Fullmetal Alchemist as a series is a tall order to try and capture well. The new film was directed by Fumihiko Sori, who can be quoted as saying how dedicated he was in adapting the series to film, going as far to say that he was living for this reason, and that it was his dearest wish to adapt the wonderful story to film. Because of that, I wanted to make for certain I approach this film with an open mind, because I respect anyone who's truly dedicated to accomplishing something, and whether they succeed or don't succeed, that's still admirable, and I'd still encourage it through and through. Fullmetal Alchemist is a Japanese dark fantasy adventure film starring a considerable cast whose names are too difficult to attempt, based on the manga series of the same name by Hiromu Arakawa. Released by Warner Bros. On December 1st, 2017, and it adapts various parts of the series. First and foremost, the cast in this film is a mixed bag of emotions. A consequence of a Japanese cast speaking a language I don't speak is that it's difficult to really constructively articulate the good and the bad in terms of performance. But I will say that I was never made to strongly feel one way or the other from the performances, and oftentimes the film embraced a hokier, over-the-top vibe that didn't come off as endearing as it did in the anime series. Frankly, it came off more off-putting than anything else. I think I would say the cast is passable in terms of acting ability, and I thought the actor who played Hughes and the homunculi came off well, purely from a performance and presence perspective. Edward Elric is front and center for this film, and I have mixed thoughts about the actor's performance in this role. Initially, I didn't think he looked the part. His blonde hair looked like a cheap, fake wig, whether it was or not, and something about it felt more like a cosplay of Edward Elric than Elric himself. However, I will say he grew on me on some level, and I would say he's passable as well. The special effects had their moments. The director praised them, talking about how it was the same technology used in films like The Avengers, and that he wanted to rival Hollywood productions. I'll start by saying they don't look that great, but they have their moments. Alphonse, as the suit of armor, looks exactly like how he did in the anime series, which is good, but also weird to see in a live-action setting. And the Chimera looked good. But some of the action scenes look awkward and clunky. I'd call them passable as well. The cinematography and music approach leave something to be desired. I think some of the aspects became lost in translation between the transition from an anime or a manga series to a live-action film. Aspects that were over the top or silly in the anime series were forgiven, whereas when in this film, they are more cringeworthy. The sentimental music that chimes in during scenes that are meant to have an emotional grasp only takes away from the moments in the long run as well. Everything I've mentioned so far, I think it shows that this film tried to provide a faithful adaptation, and for the most part, what I find myself saying is that it's passable in that regard. It doesn't muddy the waters in those respects. The storyline execution is where it delves into more negative territory in my opinion. In my opinion, one simply can't capture the essence of Fullmetal Alchemist in a single film. It simply can't be accomplished in a way that makes it meaningful. There are certain pivotal moments that are dependent on you caring about the characters you're seeing on the screen. The mistake that's made in this 2-hour-plus film is that it tries to hit on far too many parts of the series, and because of how shoehorned they feel, none of them amount to much. For instance, I think most fans of the series know and very much remember the Nina storyline that happened early in the anime and manga. This adaptation of the series rushes this plot out and it feels completely meaningless. Nina's character is given about a sentence of dialogue, and the payoff simply doesn't mean anything at all. Thereafter, the sequences with Alphonse questioning his own existence, the sequences with Hughes, all of it only makes me think back to how great those moments came across in the anime series. This film doesn't have enough time given to any of the characters to make us care about any of the moments as they happen. Hughes' character and his payoff in this film would be met with an eye roll because we're barely introduced to the character. This film wanted to hit on so many aspects in the Fullmetal series, but because they're so badly done, they effectively hit on none of them. The reality is, they could have easily made a live-action film based on the Nina storyline alone, painting the world and laying the groundwork for later installments, as this film clearly builds up to, but instead, in one swoop, they effectively blew through all the series' best moments. With its current components, I don't think this film ever had a chance of achieving true greatness as an adaptation, but if they would have taken their time with it, they could have delivered a legitimately worthwhile film that could have paved the way for an improved sequel. Instead, I'm not enthused for what the future holds. They also completely wiped the Scar character out of the series, although it's possible they might try to work him in later on. And honestly, I don't think we ever really needed a live-action Fullmetal Alchemist film. For some anime series, perhaps, it allows more spectacle or more adventures. But if all it will be is an undercooked retread, I think we should just leave the great anime series as the final word on the series. Aside from a video game, using the anime footage, which I'd be all for. That said, I really don't want to ramble on about this film. I think that it was faithful, but I don't think it was brought to the big screen in the best way. Didn't have the best acting, and definitely didn't build its characters very well. I think that it had good intentions, but I think it took the best elements of the series and did them poorly with too little time dedicated to them. That's my thoughts on the live-action Fullmetal Alchemist, and if you agreed or disagreed, make sure to let me know in the comment section below. My name's McConaughey, here on Mishmashers.com, and I'll see you next time.